Known as the refuge for free blacks from America, Liberia became one of two African countries to never have been colonized, the second being Ethiopia. Liberia started as a promising hope for black Americans wanting freedom to live how they want instead of being second-class citizens in America. However, due to complications with the indigenous Africans already on the land, coups d'etats, and two civil wars, Liberia is still working to become an economically stable, successful nation. By the end of this video, you'll learn a brief history of Liberia and how the Liberian economy has been progressing. Also, I'll reveal some investment opportunities available to you to pursue, so definitely keep watching till the end. Between 1461 and the late 17th century, Portuguese, Dutch, and British traders had contacts and trading posts in the region. The Portuguese named the area Costa da Pimenta, known as the Pepper Coast, but it later became known as the Grain Coast due to the abundance of Melegueta pepper grains. European traders would barter commodities and goods with local people. Liberia was founded in 1822 as an outpost for returning free slaves from the Americas. Liberia began in the early 19th century as a project of the American Colonization Society, which believed black people would face better chances for freedom and prosperity in Africa than in the United States. Between 1822 and the outbreak of the American Civil War in 1861, more than 15,000 freed and freeborn black people who faced social and legal oppression in the U.S., along with 3,100 Afro-Caribbeans, relocated to Liberia. Gradually developing an Americo-Liberian identity, the settlers carried their culture and tradition with them. It grew into a colony and eventually became a commonwealth and achieved independence in 1847 with the help of the American Colonization Society. The unequal distribution of power and wealth resulting from Liberia's social structure, with the Americo-Liberians being over the indigenous inhabitants, were largely at the center of the country's conflicts. Liberia is bordered by Sierra Leone to its northwest, Guinea to its north, and Ivory Coast to its east. Liberia is around the same size as Virginia. English is the official language, but over 20 indigenous languages are spoken, reflecting the country's ethnic and cultural diversity. Historically, the Liberian economy has depended heavily on foreign aid, foreign direct investment, and exports of natural resources such as iron ore, rubber, and timber. Following a peak in growth in 1979, the Liberian economy began a steady decline due to economic mismanagement after the 1980 coup. This decline was accelerated by the outbreak of civil war in 1989. GDP was reduced by an estimated 90% between 1989 and 1995, one of the fastest declines in history. Upon the end of the war in 2003, GDP growth began to accelerate, reaching 9.4% in 2007. Since 1926, Firestone has operated the world's largest rubber plantation in Harbel, Margibi County. As of 2015, it had more than 8,000 mostly Liberian employees, making it the country's largest private employer. There are 6 major newspapers in Liberia, and 45% of the population has a mobile phone service. Much of Liberia's communications infrastructure was destroyed or plundered during the 2 civil wars from 1989 to 1996 and 1999 to 2003. With low rates of adult literacy and high poverty rates, television and newspaper use is limited, leaving radio as the predominant means of communicating with the public. Transport in Liberia consists of roughly 300 miles of roadways, 6,500 miles of highways, 400 miles paved, seaports, and 3 miles of pipeline for oil transportation. Only a small percentage of Liberian roads are paved. Primary roads connect administrative and economic centers and provide access to the road systems of neighboring countries. Buses and taxis are the main forms of ground transportation in and around Monrovia. Charter boats can also be available. Public electricity services are provided solely by the state-owned Liberia Electricity Corporation, which operates a small grid almost exclusively in the Greater Monrovia district. The vast majority of electric energy services is provided by small, privately owned generators. At 54 cents per kilowatt hour, the cost of electricity in Liberia is among the highest in the world. The total capacity in 2013 was 20 megawatts, a sharp decline from a peak of 191 megawatts in 1989 before the wars. The repair and expansion of the Mount Coffee hydropower project, with a maximum capacity of 80 megawatts, was completed in 2018. Construction of 3 new heavy fuel oil power plants is expected to boost electricity capacity by 38 megawatts. In 2013, Liberia began importing power from neighboring Ivory Coast and Guinea through the West African Power Pool. Liberia has begun exploration of offshore oil. Unproven oil reserves may be in excess of 1 billion barrels. The country's education sector is hampered by inadequate schools and supplies, as well as a lack of qualified teachers. Approximately 95% of the country's healthcare facilities have been destroyed by the time civil war ended in 2003. In 2009, government expenditure on healthcare per capita was $22, accounting for 10.6% of total GDP. In 2008, Liberia only had 1 doctor and 27 nurses per 100,000 people. Access to potable water was severely limited by the Civil War, and from 1990 to 2005, tap water was unavailable in Monrovia. However, surface water is abundant, and groundwater reserves are ample and regularly replenished by the country's heavy rainfall. Monrovia is the principal commercial port, and it also has facilities for transshipping iron ore and liquid latex. Nimba Range iron ore is shipped from Buchanan, while the ports at Greenville and Harper are used primarily for the shipment of rubber and forest products. All ports are administered by the National Port Authority of Liberia. Liberia has 2 major airports, Roberts Field International and James Springs Payne Airport, both near Monrovia. Liberia has one of the lowest rates of electricity access in the world, as well as some of the highest electricity tariffs. Liberia also struggles with power theft rates of 55%, which are also the highest in the region. Power theft, defined by the Power Theft Act, is the tampering with meters, transmission and distribution lines, and general theft of meters, light poles, wires, and transformers. Indeed, a press conference in August of this year revealed that the Liberia Electricity Corporation had lost $220 million to technical losses, commercial losses, and unpaid bills from this issue. Liberia has a population of around 5 million people and is divided into 15 counties, which in turn are subdivided into a total of 90 districts and further subdivided into clans. The Liberian economy is predominantly agrarian, and raw materials, equipment, and consumer goods are imported. Production for export is carried out on large scale through foreign investment in rubber, forestry, and mining. Foreign ships registering under a Liberian flag of convenience have made Liberia one of the world's foremost countries in registered ship tonnage. Liberia nevertheless remains primarily agricultural. The distribution of wealth is uneven, the coastal districts receiving a greater share of economic benefits than the hinterland, after which the administrative centers are the next beneficiaries. Liberia's climate is suitable for rubber production. The necessary plants thrive on the country's poor soils. In 1926, the Firestone Tire and Rubber Company of the United States obtained a concession for rubber cultivation. Rubber has become by far the country's most valuable commercial crop, with cocoa and coffee increasing in importance. Cola nuts, peanuts, and cotton are also produced, and cattle and pigs are raised. Rainforests produce fine hardwood timber, especially in the east of the country, but also in the center and in the west. Timber concessions operate in the southeast and northwest. Substantial amounts of timber are produced, but exploitation of the forest resources is difficult because of poor roads and shortage of labor. Of the approximately 250 species of forest trees, about 90 are marketable. Agriculture in Liberia is a major sector of the country's economy, worth 38.8% of the GDP, employing more than 70% of the population and providing a valuable export for one of the world's least developed countries. Liberia has a climate favorable to farming, vast forests, and an abundance of water, yet low yields mean that over half of the foodstuffs are imported. The major crops are natural rubber, rice, cassava, bananas, and palm oil. Timber is also a major export at $100 million annually, although much of this is the product of unsustainable habitat destruction, with Asian corporations criticized for their role. The mining industry of Liberia has witnessed a revival after the Civil War, which ended in 2003. Gold, diamonds, and iron ore form the core minerals of the mining sector, with a new mineral development policy and mining code being put in place to attract foreign investments. In 2013, the minerals sector accounted for 11% of GDP in the country, and the World Bank has projected a further increase in the sector by 2017. The mining sector is considered a prime mover for the economic growth of the country, and its exploitation has to be appropriately balanced with sustainable environmental preservation of its rich biodiversity. Apart from iron ore extraction, cement, diamond, gold, and petroleum resources have also been given due importance to enrich the economy of the country. Manufacturing enterprises are predominantly private and foreign owned, and most serve the local market. Near Monrovia, there is a petroleum refinery as well as a cement plant. There are also explosives, paint, pharmaceutical, and cosmetic plants. Bricks, tiles, cement blocks, lumber and furniture, soap and footwear are also manufactured, and there are several distilleries. Overall, Liberia's performance also dropped in the category of business environment. More specifically, the country suffers from onerous business regulations. For example, according to the World Bank's Doing Business report, bureaucratic compliance for trading across borders in Liberia takes an average of 193 hours to complete. Improving efficiency and compliance at its border is an important step in improving the ease of doing business in the country. Panelists agreed that border compliance is an issue and stated that Liberia needs to move into a digital space to fix this issue. With the processes at the border still being done manually, delays are inevitable, and compliance will continue to be a barrier for the country. Current impediments to growth include a small domestic market, lack of adequate infrastructure, high transportation costs, poor trade links with neighboring countries, and the high dollarization of the economy. Liberia uses the United States dollar as its currency from 1943 until 1982 and continues to use the dollar alongside the Liberian dollar. The corporate tax rate is 25%. The most recent exports are led by special purpose ships, passenger and cargo ships, iron ore, gold, and rubber. The most common destination for the exports of Liberia are Guyana, Poland, Switzerland, Japan, and China. The most recent imports of Liberia are led by passenger and cargo ships, refined petroleum, iron structures, boat propellers, and centrifuges. The most common import partners for Liberia are China, Japan, South Korea, Brazil, and Germany. When it comes to promising industries in Liberia, Liberia has a lot of opportunities for investment, and this is coming just because of the war. It destroyed a lot of things, and obviously the country needs to build. So starting with hydroelectric power, it's good that Liberia has adequate rainfall to support this. So any business ideas, any investments that you want to do in hydroelectric renewable energy is going to be good for sure. The education sector, you don't have a lot of skilled labor, and that's always going to be a roadblock to private companies, larger companies that want to invest in the region. So if you could get into the educational sector and start really training the citizens practical skills and just knowledge, not just book smart, not just get a degree, no, like practical stuff, then that will really be a benefit to the country, and of course make you a lot of money. So vocational training, information and technology, tech, all, like any type of education, it's very much needed in Liberia. the ICT infrastructure, fiber optics. You need to be able to pass information quickly, especially in this age. Information is everywhere, and people need to know exactly what's going on, really down to the second a lot of the time. So if you are part of that tech space, then ICT, information and communications technology, then that will be a good industry to invest in, because once again, this country needs a lot of investment in all types of industries. So you also got water filtration. So because of all the water that goes on, it needs to be filtered. And once again, due to the destruction of the Civil War, a lot of the water infrastructure has been destroyed, damaged. It's no more, and it's a health crisis for the citizens there. Everyone needs good, clean drinking water. So if you can find a business opportunity there when it comes to just clean drinking water, then that will, of course, the government would welcome you in, because that's always needed. Any necessities to life, it's always a good business track to go on. Then you're also gonna have agriculture, fisheries, forestry. So this is typical of a lot of African nations. Anything dealing with farming, trees like wood, everyone wants wood and stuff like that. It's always going to be a good industry. It can always be more efficient, can be developed. So that's an obvious one. Construction materials, construction equipment, road, highway. The roads are not paved. Huge potential in that. Of course, go into that industry and make sure that it makes sense and the country is ready for it. Once again, this country is trying to rebuild. The government is not as robust as it needs to be, and you have to make sure that it's the right environment for you to go into, especially at your skill level. But nonetheless, you need buildings, you need quality buildings, standards that are award standards. So that's a good industry to do your investment in. Now, if it was going to be me and I was going to invest in Liberia, I will go into the construction field, the construction industry. So many buildings got just destroyed, and like everything. So, well, not everything, but there's just so much opportunity to build something and create a business out of it. So I like construction materials. So maybe cement blocks, roofing, that type of stuff. Really good, really needed. I would focus on that. I know there's a lot of people doing farming. There's always a lot of people in the country doing farming, but if I was going to do something in Liberia, I'll be looking at the construction industry, and not just building houses or just the main stuff. I'll look at the tangential areas, the areas that people don't really pay attention to. For example, maybe it could be, of course, you got the roads that need investment in it, but what kind of thing? Building materials, like I said earlier. It can be even when it comes to replacement parts for the equipment. That's another it's just so much stuff with construction. It's the things that people don't focus on. So that's what I'll focus on. If you're interested in an entrepreneurial story, I have one for you. This company supplies farmers with organic fertilizer at a fraction of the cost. So I hope this video allows you to better understand the economy of Liberia and a little bit about the history. If you have any questions, or if you have any comments, any relevant topics that you want me to do, then please let me know in the comment section down below. I'll greatly appreciate it. Also, check out this video's description for content that I have for you all, just to help you in your own entrepreneurial journey. Or if you just want to do your own personal development, I do have some content in this video's description. Just click on it and you see exactly what I'm talking about. And also, of course, the article for the company that makes organic fertilizer at a fraction of the cost. Definitely check that. It's a really interesting story that I came across, so it's pretty good. If you like content like this and you want to see more of it, then definitely subscribe to this channel and make sure to click the bell so that you're alerted when I do drop new videos. Appreciate you all, and I'll see you in the next video.